Hey, welcome back to the table. So we're gonna play Spruance Leader. I did move it up to my main table. And for those of you that are watching ISS Vanguard, yes, I have put it away. To the credit of the people who made that game, they have a really cool save system. I actually do believe I can pull the boxes out and set it up and get it right back to the state that it was. But it is bad news for those of you who were watching that series, because with it being put away, it requires Jeff to actually get it out again. And right now, my table has this game, and I'm actually very excited to play this one. I enjoy. Like, just one last comment. I enjoy ISS Vanguard tremendously. I really do, and going as far as I have into that campaign, I estimate that I'm at least over halfway. And I think that being over halfway is there's very little you're going to see in the game other than you're just going to see what the next landing or next planet looks like. But I think I thoroughly covered at least what the game has to offer. I never did get the pet technology finished, but anyways, this is not a playthrough of that game. I am genuinely remorseful that I had to put that away. This game, though, deserves some attention for several reasons. Number one, disclaimer. I am personal friends with Dean Brown, the designer of this game. He is my friend on Facebook. I have not met him actually in person, but we have been friends for years and chatting and whatnot ever since he was designing B-17. I am not close enough that I was part of his testing team or had any influence on how this was designed. But a game from him is very personal for me and near and dear. I think you guys have watched my channel enough to know that even though he's my friend, I'll still criticize if something is, wonky or not right. I still believe it's worth mentioning. And sure, you can accuse me of being too friendly all you want. I think you're not going to get very far because my videos are evidentiary that I usually don't shy away from saying what I like or don't like. But I do want to point that out that when his game arrives, I want to play it, because it is something I'm very interested in. Secondly, this is not a game that is going to be as popular as ISS Vanguard, meaning that the big guys, maybe One Stop Co-op Shop, because now that Mike's running it, he has been covering some war games more than, Colin did. They might cover this game, but usually most of them don't. And so I think this is going to be helpful for people who want to learn about this game. I know that Dean himself has been making some videos. I've watched them. I definitely see a need to have my own alongside his, because he skips a lot of stuff. And I think that those things would be helpful for other people to see. But he does give a great overview. And then thirdly, I love leader games. I've covered a lot of them in this series. It's actually one of the first ones I've made in this channel was a leader game. Hornet Leader being my favorite of all time, of course. So it's just natural that I want to play a game like this. I know there's been some folks that are starting to make more wargaming stuff, and they're covering these leader games. I've seen them. I feel very secure. So, with that being said, let's jump into this. And as you noticed, I had an intro video which covered some of the dilemmas. Like, for example, there's this basic game. There is a submarine game, which is separate. You have to choose one or the other. So we're choosing the basic game. We're not going to play the submarine game. And then there's a carrier expansion, which, again, you have to choose one or the other. Although the carrier expansion at least has the same game mechanics as this. It's just, carriers are added to the mix. We're going to do just the basic game. This game is meaty. I am nervous from the perspective that there's so much stuff that you can forget in this game. And that's what has me nervous is the forgetting things. I don't think the rules are too bad, but there's a lot of them is the issue. And and the thing that I'm going to forget is like these modifiers. There's a lot of modifiers to this game. If there's any way I can see myself getting tired of playing this, it's going to be calculating those modifiers, because it turns into a math exercise, and depending on your energy level, sometimes you just want to pew pew and shoot. You don't want to constantly calculate modifiers. So, but it does seem like an extremely interesting game. It looks like it's very different than any other leader game out there, and so let's dive in. So first things first, you have to pick your campaign. And the campaign that I'm choosing to do, since we're going to be doing the base game, is we are going to do the linked campaign, which is actually a series of 3 campaigns. So my terminology is going to be linked campaign is referring to this sheet, and then this is a campaign, that's a campaign, and that's a campaign. Now, when I'm talking about the linked campaign, I could catch myself calling this a mission. That's a bad thing for me to do because missions mean something in this game. Because this campaign is going to be a bunch of missions within it. But I'm just trying to help establish some terminology. So this is going to focus on the Atlantic side. So there's a whole bunch of ships that say Pacific on them. And so if you look right here on the top right, these are American ships that have PAC. That stands for Pacific. There's a whole bunch, as you can see here. Those are immediately eliminated from the game. We don't use them because we're playing on the Atlantic side. There are 5 or 6 missions that do have Pacific ships in them, and obviously we didn't choose one of those. But if you did choose one of those, you would use this deck. So that's out. The next thing to take away from it is, in order to simplify this game for me, and for any of you, I highly recommend that you pick a country and stick with just that one country. If you're from the UK and you want to play UK ships, then pick the UK ships. Don't pick anything else. And that's my recommendation to you. And I'll explain to you why. So I'm going to pick the United States ships only. Because, I'm from the US, so for the same logic, right? So I'm going to pick the United States ships only, and the biggest reason is I'm going to show you right here. Look at this stack of cards. So this represents Japan, all the other countries in the game that are not the US. And the foreign ships don't have an Atlantic or Pacific side, so you can use these on either side. And I can mix. There's nothing stopping me from having 2 American ships, 2 Japanese ships. We can mix and match all kinds of stuff here. And there's even like, what's bizarre is like that's a submarine, and I don't know if that was supposed to be with the submarine expansion or what's going on there. But I ended up getting some submarines, some Japanese submarines. I think these are supposed to go into the submarine expansion. But and just to clarify, some of these ships are from the Allied expansion pack. So the Allied expansion pack is just a bunch of cards that you mix in with the game. Well, some of the cards, as you can see, are submarines, so that should go over to the submarine expansion. Anyways, I believe this is Germany, and then we got some Italy and so forth, right? There's a whole bunch of, there's some France, and then there's even new commanders, and I know they're upside down here, but like this is like Young from the UK, right? So you have commanders for certain countries too. Now, by choosing to do only American ships, see this big stack of cards? Eliminated from the game. I have to choose. You get a certain number of points to purchase ships. I have to purchase which ships I want to take with me on this campaign, and by playing with all the countries, I've now multiplied my choices by a very large level. And so in order to simplify this game for me, I'm only going to do the US ships. So all these are out. And like I said, there's nothing stopping you. Just do only UK ships and get rid of the US ones. But I highly recommend that you narrow down your ship choices. Now with the US ships, you can see the ones that I've selected are in front of us here. But this is what the US ship choices were for me. I had this many to choose from. It's still quite a bit. Now, every ship is actually 3 cards, right? Because the ships start at newbie level, and then they go to green, then they go to average, which is what the A is, and then they go to skilled, and then they go to veteran, and then they finish at warrior. So there's 6 states that a ship can be, and it's based on experience points. And the number of experience points you need to get to the next level is that number. So this is a skilled USS Ticonderoga, and it needs 7 experience points to go to the next level, which would be veteran. Now, don't let that overwhelm you too much. This is a basic thing in all leader games, which is part of the reason why I like them. But warrior is the highest level, and noob is the lowest level, and everything in between you can either find it in the rulebook, or it's even sort of outlined here. You know, some of the levels, right, that are used to at least start the game. So I had all of these to choose from, and so will you if you're playing, you know, doing the same as me and just doing a United States start. But it is so much simpler to go through these and figure out what to do than trying to go through that mega stack of cards that I just showed you. And then the commanders get a lot less too, right? You have to pick 2 commanders, and I was able to choose from these commanders, even though you know, there's other ones that are in the game, but those commanders are for other countries. Okay, so what else to take away? This is, like I said, it's a linked campaign of 3 campaigns linked together. There are some special rules over on the right. I don't want to focus on them too much, but just understand that your ships can transfer from one campaign to the next. And then he's got some other special rules depending on how well you do. If you ever have any ships that make it to warrior level, you're going to roll a die, and if you roll a 9 or better, and there's no modifiers on this, it's just a straight up roll. So that's what, a 20% chance. You have a 20% chance that that ship is going to be transferred, which means you remove it from the campaign. So I may get one of my ships up to warrior level here, and then I'm all excited because now I got a warrior level ship. I'm going to move to my next campaign, and then I roll a 9 or a better, and it's gone. So now I got to go find another ship to do my nefarious purposes. The next thing is these 3 link campaigns. This one's easy, medium, and hard. So I think it's a pretty cool progression. The other part is that this middle campaign, whether you play it by itself or a part of this, it only allows this. There's this tiny little writing here, but if you pull out the sheet, you'll see it better. It only allows destroyers and frigates. There's no other ship type allowed here. So when you do this campaign, only the destroyers and frigates are going to move on. But the other capital ships that you used, you still get to save them in their experience points, because down here, cruisers come back. Now, I did speak with Dean on this. This line that you see here is written in the second box, but it is meant to be for the third box. So what it's trying to say is that cruisers from the first campaign, when it says to this one is this guy down here. This one doesn't allow cruisers, so this line doesn't make any sense where it's located. So, any cruisers that you used in this mission will transfer to the third one. See, I just used the word mission. This campaign will transfer to the third campaign. Any destroyers or frigates you can use in all 3 campaigns. So destroyers and frigates are the primary ships you're going to be using as you go through. Now, why do I bring this up? It's critical for choosing who to take with you on these particular campaigns. So, now that I mentioned we're doing the link campaign, let me introduce you to the first campaign we're going to start. It's the North Atlantic Skirmish. So here's the important information you need to understand. Use Atlantic ships. So if you're going to use the United States ships, you got to use the Atlantic side. So all the Pacific ones are gone, just like I explained. All the Allied ones are allowed. Okay, it is an easy campaign, at least, according to the designer. We have 2, we can choose between a short or a medium. The link campaign rules specifically state that you must always choose the longest length. So we have to do medium. Okay, you have a task force and an activity track. Just grab these markers and set them here, and the little arrow points that the task force is 3 and the activity is +2. and this will impact the way the campaign plays. And as you play and sink ships and stuff, these will move. And the further to the right they are, the more advantageous to us it is. Okay, the other important factor is the number of targets that you need to do your mission, and then the number of SO points that you start. SO points, just think of it as money. SO, I think, is like special operations or something like that. It's just basically the economy in the game. So it's your money. So you have 90 points to purchase things. So the way Dean does leader games, which is different than like Hornet Leader and some of the other ones, is he also grants you points between every mission. So you're going to earn points every time. So after you go after a target and then you're getting ready to go after the next target, you're going to earn more points each time. So not all leader games do that. Like some leader games, you start with 90 and that's all you get the entire campaign. This one, that's not the case. You get 90 to start with, and then you get 22 every single. I'm almost tempted to say every single week, but just between every single target in mission. Okay, so let's get set up here. Like I said, we have to choose this one. And what does it mean by 6 targets versus 4? It just means we have to do 6 targets out of the 9, and I'll show you the 9 are right here. There are these numbers that you see on the board here. So you can see 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. There is a target deck. Do not shuffle it. The target deck is numbered from 1 all the way up to 40. And just keep them in numerical order. And then what you want to do is you want to go through and pull out the targets that match these numbers. So I went and I pulled out... So there's 9 cards here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I've already shuffled them. But these 9 cards represent 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 28, 29, 12, and 22. Okay? So they were drawn from the major deck and shuffled. For this particular campaign, we are only going to use these 9 target cards. Those other ones are out of the game for now. And what this is saying is... you shuffle them up, and then what these down here says, like where it says 4 targets for a short campaign or 6 for a medium, since there's 9 total targets, we're going to do a medium campaign, and we're going to actually resolve 6 of these. So 3 of them will not get drawn or resolved. They might get drawn, but they're not going to get resolved. Some leader games let you go after 2 targets, like there's like a primary target and then there's a secondary mission, right? That is not the case here. You're going after 1 target and that's it. But this particular one introduces an interesting concept called enemy encounters. So that's what you see over here. So if your target is 1, 2, 3, 4 deep, see these little bars? Every time you enter an area, if there's enemy task force here, and this gets randomly determined based on the die rolls, if there's enemy task forces there, they may intercept you. So you may have an encounter where you have to fight them, and that's not your primary mission, but you're fighting them on your way to get to your primary mission. And so it's a very interesting concept, and you could theoretically run out of ammo before you even get to where you need to go. So that's another aspect to this that's interesting. So these encounters could get you points or other things, other cash and prizes. It all depends on what you draw. There is a giant encounter deck, which has already been shuffled and put here. So shuffle the entire thing. The enemy subs and enemy ships, you need to shuffle those as well. And then before you shuffle, or even while you're playing, you're going to have to do one of the 2 things. You either ahead of time pull out any ships that have a year on them that's later than the campaign. So the campaign, as you can see, is 1988. So this is, of course, 1991, 92, 89, etc. So these 4 ships are removed from the game, and this 1 sub is removed from the game. Otherwise, the ship cards and sub cards are full use. It's really only 5 total cards I removed from both of those decks. So, Yeah, then you just shuffle. Now, all I was referring is like if you didn't want to go find these cards and pull them out of the deck, that just means every time you draw from those decks, you got to check the year, and if the year was out of range, then you have to remove it and draw again, right? Because there's two ways you can skin the cat on that one. Okay. Another thing that I think Dean did a good job with is he mentions in the campaign notes that there's no allied carriers, no enemy air attacks, and one target requires Tomahawk land attack missiles. Yeah, I'm learning this. So these TLAMs are a specific type of weapon that only some ships can fire. So you need to make sure that you purchase a ship in your task force that can fire TLAMs, or otherwise you won't be able to go after that one target. It is possible. You'll never even draw that target card. But if you do, you need to have TLAMs. And so that's what the part I appreciate is the fact that it's telling you this. Otherwise, you'd have to go through the whole target deck just to check for that. Because TLAMs are a very specific weapon that only certain ships fire. Okay, so if there was no TLAMs on the whole campaign, then that can change which ships you're going to put in your task force. For example, you don't necessarily need a TLAM firing ship. Okay, now getting to the ships. So we shuffle our cards. We picked our mission. We got our little markers out. We now need to... we have to create our cups. I have 2 cups created. This one has these tokens on them. And the tokens are really easy to spot. They have missile on the top and torpedo on the other side. These are your damage chips. So when you take damage, you're going to be drawing from this cup. Obviously, you're going to read the missile side if it's a missile attack and a torpedo side if it's a torpedo attack. The other cup is the enemy subs, and it's going to have all this gobbledygook written on it, like the detect 3-9, and then it determines whether there was really a sub there or if it was just, you were chasing a whale. So when you detect a sub, you're going to draw from this cup. Now, don't confuse it with this, because both of these say enemy sub along the top. See that? But look at the one on the right. It has all that detail on it. The one on the left is just a number. So all this is saying, you're using this to identify this is sub 6, which is different than sub 5, which is different than sub 4. This is just a little identifier chip. This is the one you're drawing from a cup. Okay? So these ones you don't draw from cups. So make sure you separate those properly. Okay, then after that, we have to purchase equipment. Now, assuming you've never played a leader game, these do vary, but they all have a general thing in common. So this USS Ticonderoga costs 22 points. Remember, we start the game with 90. So I would be spending 22 points for this one. And remember, there's 3 cards per ship for the various promotion levels. The cost doesn't change based on the promotion level. It's the same cost no matter what. The promotion level is different. The campaign tells you you need to have 1 skilled, 2 green, 1 newbie, and 2 average. And then if you have any additional ships or commanders after that, everyone after that is going to be green. That's what that little asterisk means. So you have to distribute your ships in that kind of manner, and commanders. So you have ships and you're going to have commanders. All of them have these skill levels I was talking about that go from newbie up to warrior. For this particular campaign, we're going to have 1 skilled commander or ship, 2 green, 2 average, 1 newbie, and then everything beyond that is going to be green. Now, there are rules that let you promote. So for 4 SO points, I can promote every ship for 4 each. So if I want to start with a newbie, 2 average, 2 green, and 1 skilled, I can turn this one into a veteran, both of those into an average, both of those into skilled, and that one into a green. But I'm going to be spending 2, 4, 5, 6 times 4. I'm going to be spending 24 SO points to do that. So that is a rule in the game. You can do it once per ship. There is another rule where I could take like the skilled ship and demote him to average, and then take like a newbie ship and promote him to green. That's also allowed. You're allowed to demote any one ship to promote another. And that's in addition to promoting them. So I could, for example, take a green ship or green commander or whatever, demote it to newbie, and promote this one to veteran, and then spend 4 SO points to promote the veteran to a warrior. So I start the game with a warrior. All that's allowed. I know that's a lot of rules, folks, but these are all, it's in the rule book. And basically, just to understand it at a basic level, this is what you're required to do. But then you can either spend SO points or do demotions and promotions to manipulate what level they're at. Okay? Now, I am going to show you that I'm going to spend 4 SO points to promote one of these. No, actually I did not. I am not promoting anybody. I'm stingy with my SO points. So I'm going to stick exactly to what's here. I'm not going to use any of these rules I just explained. Okay? They're there and they're definitely helpful. Don't get me wrong. They're very helpful. Actually, I thought about promoting my commander. I have one commander that's going to be really high level. I thought about promoting him to a veteran, but I chose against it. It actually would be a nice option, but for now, I'm okay. All right, so with that out of the way, and I explained how to look at the cost of your ships, and just so you know, the commanders are free. Let me grab some commanders here. They are free. They don't cost any SO points. You get to pick 2 of them. And we'll do this later, the commanders. Let's just focus on the ships for now. There are different types of ships in this game. There are basically the CCs or the CGs. Those are the cruisers. These are what's called capital ships. And one of your ships does need to be a flagship, which is where your commander is going to reside. And I do recommend that you at least have one capital ship for that purpose. And so when we were talking about in the rules that the cruiser doesn't get to advance to the second campaign, that's what we're talking about. So this Ticonderoga is perfectly fine and eligible to participate in this first campaign, but he's going to have to disappear for the second. The second one is only going to be destroyers and frigates. Now, I don't know what the CG stands for. The G, I think, stands for missile-based, but I don't remember what exactly constitutes a G versus a C. But anyways, these are cruisers, and you might see a CCG in here, but those are all the cruisers to choose from. So what do you look for when you're choosing your ship? Oh gosh, there's so many things to see here. So I'll try to be quick about this, but basically, this column here is ship to ship. This is ship to sub, and then this is ship to air. So this Ticonderoga class cruiser automatically detects all air units, and it uses SM-2 missiles to shoot at them. Okay? It can detect submarines 1 to 3 range away, and we'll talk about what range is in a second. And it uses a die roll where you need to roll at least a 5 or better to get 1 success, and an 8 or better for it to be 2 successes. So if I rolled a 7, that would be better than a 5, but not as good as an 8, so I would have 1 success. If I roll a 9, it's better than both of these numbers, so I would have 2 successes. Okay? So that's this. Next is the attack. These are ASROC torpedoes. I can't remember what the ASROC stands for, but they're better than regular torpedoes. Let's just put it that way. So they use these torpedoes for attacking submarines. And then for detecting surface ships, they use the 469 die roll, which means they could have up to 3 successes depending on how well they roll, and they can detect from range 1 through 6. They have harpoon missiles, which is the RGM-84, and they use a gun that can shoot a range 2 away. You need an 8 or better to hit with that. Then the ship has special abilities, which are here. So first special ability is it has a helicopter that you can purchase, and it will launch a helicopter that'll help you, go detect submarines and other ships and attack them. It has a towed array, which this isn't actually a special ability. It just means that the ability to detect subs is better, and that 5.8 is a good set of numbers for detecting subs. It has missile shield. and it has a cool value of 2. Missile shield allows other ships in the fleet to benefit from its missile defense, which is this MD number down here. And that number 3 is actually really good. And then the cool value is the crew on each ship will gain stress. And that's what you see here. So from 0 to 9 stress, the crew is okay, and you'll get these nice little bonuses, right? But as soon as it gets to 10 stress, the crew becomes shaken and they don't perform as well. And if they ever get to 13 or more, then the crew becomes unfit for service and the ship basically needs to get some R&R. So stress levels are important in this game. You need to manage stress. The cool value of 2 simply means that at the end of the mission, the crew on this is a lot cooler than most and under pressure. Not necessarily cool in terms of popularity. And so for a value of 2, they remove the stress by 2, is what that's saying. So they take 2 less stress for the mission. I know that's a lot, folks, but every single ship has that decision. And that's why I was saying just pick one country or 2 and limit your choices, because there's so much to analyze here. And every one of these numbers means something, and they're all important. So, how do you break up your fleet? Well, I know, for example, that the second campaign requires destroyers and frigates, so I'm going to focus on them a bit. I know that submarines are a big deal, so I want to make sure I have good submarine detection and kill. I need at least 1 or 2 ships that'll help me take out other ships, right? So ship-to-ship fighting, and then there's ship-to-sub fighting. I need to think about both of those. I also need to consider ship-to-air, even though this particular campaign, the rules say that there's no enemy air attacks. So I might be okay there. Beyond that, I have to just worry about the costs, because I am limited to 90 SO points, so I can't buy everything. Now, if you're wondering, okay, what are these other numbers? Just to round it out, the NM, I can't remember what the NM stands for, but it's their ability to be detected when the enemy is trying to detect you. So NM is noise management. So how much noise you're making. So can the enemy figure out who you are? TD is your torpedo defense, and that's your missile defense. So both of these numbers, of course, very important for being able to avoid damage. If you ever need to do repairs, so some damage that you receive can be repaired, there's a number here, and you would roll a die to see if you were able to repair that damage. You're either oil or nuke. I honestly don't know what the gameplay impact to that is, but there are some oil supply ships I haven't really paid much attention to, but I'm sure this impacts the mechanics a little bit. And then this 3 here is your hull points. So if you ever take 3 hull damage, you're sunk and your crew is lost. Okay, so that's there's a lot of ships in this game. Now I mentioned that we have cruisers. We also have frigates, which are the FFs, and then we have destroyers, which are the DDs. And there's 1/4 type of ship, and that's the battleship, the BB. And there's only 1 ship available. It's the Iowa class. And I gotta say, I've visited this ship in Los Angeles, and it is a wonderful, wonderful. That was a fantastic visit. I also saw the Mighty Mo in Pearl Harbor, so I've been on 2 of these, and they are fantastic ships. Even though they're from World War II, they are intimidating. These guns are huge, and I totally understand why what they did was they refurbished them in the 80s. And they actually participated in the Gulf War and shot shells and everything, and even did some damage and so these battleships are impressive. I really want one in the game, but this particular mission series, this Link campaign, these battleships don't carry over. Only cruisers get to move to the next campaign. So if I picked a battleship, I'm wasting my time. So I can't do it. As much as I want to, the battleships are out. So I eliminated a lot of these ships, and I could go through and talk about what's good and bad about each one. Um, let's go through this real quick. I'll try to be as quick as possible here. So the Ticonderoga is probably the best cruiser you can get, but it's going to be the most expensive at the same time. The Belknap class is actually I highly recommend this one. If you don't want to take the Ticonderoga and you want to save us a few points, it's a few points less. It's not as good at detecting things as the Ticonderoga, but it is a command ship, which gives you an extra commander action. +1 slow action for the commander, which could be a big deal. And it's the only cruiser ship that lets you get a +1. The Iowa that we were just talking about it's a command ship as well. It does come with a helicopter, and we could talk about helicopters in a bit, but well, actually, here we go. We got some helicopters right here. So what are helicopters? Helicopters launch, and they're their own little entity that has their own weapon systems, and they can detect ships, and they can also detect submarines. I would say that my best recommendation to you is think about helicopters as submarine hunters. So if you have a ship that comes with a helicopter, they got basically equipment to hunt submarines. But helicopters have their own points. So if you're paying 18 points for this Belknap class cruiser, and it says it comes with an SF2 helicopter, which I think is a typo. I think it meant to say S2F here. So you would have to buy this helicopter to go with it. You don't have to, but it would cost you 4 more. So that's 18 plus 4. You're now spending 22 SO points for that pair. You can clearly buy this and not get the helicopter if you want. You don't have to buy the helicopter, but obviously the helicopter is part of the power of that particular ship. And yeah, the helicopters have sonobuoys that drop into water, and they can ping for submarines. And then this MAD here is like, I can't remember what it stands for, but basically I'm looking real quick. Magnetic anomaly detection. So as the helicopter's flying over the water, it's actually detecting magnetic behavior in the water below it. So it can try to detect subs while it's flying over the different spaces. And you can see here, there's these different spaces. So as the sub's flying over one to the next, it's going to try to detect submarines. So helicopters, I've never played this game yet, but they look very powerful. They are pricey. You got to spend a bit to get one, but I think that's why it might be nice to have one, though. And then this is just another helicopter that you can get. This SH-60 is with the Ticonderoga. So you can see he comes with the SH-60, whereas the Belknap comes with the SF-2, which was a typo. Now, comparing the two helicopters, you can see the MAD here is a 5. That's a number you need to roll. So a 5 is better than a 7. So the Ticonderoga class costs more, and oh, guess what? They have a better helicopter. So no surprise there. Okay? I hope that makes some sense. And then if you keep going, this is a frigate. These are really tiny ships. They tend to have one purpose, but this Oliver Hazard class frigate comes with a helicopter, and and you can see its various skills. We actually did purchase one of these, so you're going to see one of these in the game. And I'm just skipping through all those. The Farragut class does not come with a helicopter. It's a little cheaper. Actually, it's a little more expensive than the other one. But it's really not a bad ship at all, but we did not choose any of these. There is a spotter drone, but those go with the USS Iowa, so we did not choose that. There's some more Farragut class destroyers. Then we have the Kidd class destroyer. This one comes with a helicopter from 1981. And again, on our side, we can't choose any ships that are later than 1988 either. But the good news for us is we don't have anything that's later than 1988. So basically all the ships are eligible for us. Here's the Charles Adams destroyer. So it's a basically routine destroyer. It's a little old on the old side of 1964. There's only one of those in the game. Then we have some Knox class frigates. These are really cheap at 10. Again, they come with a helicopter potentially. So there's several of those, in fact, to choose from. 3 of them. There's a Garcia class frigate, which is 6 SO points, so super duper cheap. It also comes with a helicopter. So you can see, like, you can actually get some pretty cheap stuff if you want. And the detection abilities are going to stink compared to the other ships. But their price, is the reason. But if you could get a helicopter to come with it, then maybe the helicopter is all you need. Now, here's another cruiser, a Virginia class. I was strongly considering this one. They have the T-Lambs that we were talking about, the Tomahawks, but they are pricey. They cost 20. It is a nuclear-powered ship. These are really good ships, I think. The Leahy class, it's another cruiser you can choose. It costs 16. It's one of the cheaper ones, and I think that cheaper, like it has no defense or whatever. It's an old 1963 ship. That's your grandpa's ship. So only boomers take that one. Okay. So what did I choose? Well, for 90 points, I'm going to show you in a paper format first. We are doing the North Atlantic Skirmish, 1988. We started with 90 points. I bought a Lady Gulf, which is a cruiser, for 26. It's a Ticonderoga class. It's the best in the game. I went premium on that one. I bought the Spruance ship, which is a Spruance destroyer. Its name is Spruance. That's 20. That's also a premium ship. John Rogers is also a Spruance destroyer. Again, another premium ship. So I bought 3 premium ships, and that's 66 of my 90 points. I don't have a lot left, folks. Then I got the De Wert, which is a frigate, for 8 points. So that puts me to 74. And then I calculated, I just subtracted, I had 16 points left. I considered promoting somebody to put me down to 12 points, but I chose not to. That's why I crossed it out. So I have 16 points left. Now, I need to buy helicopters. So these 2 helicopters here cost 10, and this one costs 4. So I'm going to buy 3 of the 4 available helicopters for 14. And that leaves me with 2 points. And I'm just writing this down real quick. So I'm going to buy 3 heli for 14 points. So that means I'm going to have 2 points left over at the end of the campaign. This is all campaign setup, by the way, folks. There's a lot of decision making as part of the setup. Now, I want to remind you, when you do a mission, you get 22 more points. So this last helicopter that I'm not purchasing, I'm just going to set it aside, because guess what? We're going to buy it when we get those 22 points. Those 22 are going to combine with the 2 points I have, and I'm going to basically start the mission with 24 points, and I'm going to spend 4 of those points to get this helicopter, and then I still have 20 points left to do the mission. So I hope that makes sense. Now, let me show you the ones I chose and why. And also, that little trick of saving some of what you want to purchase until the mission starts is worth doing. Because I could have, for example, this Ticonderoga cruiser is 26 points. The other Ticonderoga cruiser was only 22 points, 4 points less. That 4 points is what I could have used to purchase this helicopter. So why did I defer the purchase of this helicopter? Well, because I want this better ship. This one's better than the other one. That's the first reason. And when you get a ship during a mission, so after you're finished with the campaign setup, every new ship that you get is a newbie. Right now, every new ship you get is a green, right? After you fulfill all this quota, right? But as soon as the missions start and you gain those 22 points, every new ship you buy after that is a newbie ship. And I don't want newbie ships. So I want to buy all the ships I want, even if they're premium. And then I'll just save the helicopters and buy them later, because the helicopters don't have levels to them. So you can do that little trick where you're going to spend the mission SO points to buy the helicopters. So I bought everything I wanted except for 1 helicopter. I ran out of money. But then I'm just going to buy that once we get the mission. Okay? And so I made sure I got the premium ship I wanted instead of the so I got the Transformers instead of the GoBots. So that's what this is. I picked the Transformer Ticonderoga instead of the GoBot Ticonderoga. All right. So what did I get? Well, let's start with our capital ship. I got the Lady Gulf. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. The Lady Gulf Ticonderoga class cruiser. It is expensive, but it is the best cruiser in the game in terms of detecting other ships. It has harpoons, the RGM-84. It has the RGM-109, which is better than the 84. I don't know what the 109s are called. But it also has them in VLS. So just quick explanation. When you're attacking another ship, you get to basically shoot two missiles, two torpedoes. You get to basically fire at it twice. A VLS means you get to fire at it 4 times. Now, you have to have all the ammo to do this. It's not cheap or free, but I have the ability to fire 4 instead of 2 with this. The cheaper Ticonderoga does not have the VLS. Is it that important? No. But one of the reasons I chose this Ticonderoga is it actually has... oh gosh, I'd have to look at the other one again. But... hold on, let me grab the other one real quick, because I actually forgot why I wanted this one. Oops. Well, first of all, you can see this one has RGM 109s. This one doesn't have it at all. This one can shoot the TLAM in VLS. This one can't carry TLAMs at all, so no Tomahawks at all on this one. So you see how there's some subtle differences, but they make a difference. And then the torpedoes for shooting subs is VLS versus this one is not. I know it sounds a little, maybe those differences don't mean anything to you, and that's fine. You can save yourself 4 SO points by getting the lower grade one. But like I said, I went premium on this. Now, I went premium on it because it's the only capital ship we have. I think that Belknap one, or whatever we were looking at, was actually pretty good because it gives you an extra commander point. I might have gone with that one instead. It's just that this cruiser is the only ship-to-ship attack ship that I have in my fleet. So I basically needed a good high-class capital ship. That's almost as good as the Iowa, but not quite, right? And then the other reason why this one's a popular one is because it has missile shield. And every ship in the fleet is going to benefit from its missile defense value, which is a 2. Now, I made this an average rank ship, which is, as you may recall, skilled is the highest. There's 2 average, 2 green, and 1 newbie. So I gave them the second best promotion possible. The skilled I saved for my commander. And we're going to go over the commander in a bit. So I gave it, so out of all the ships, our ships, highest ranked ships are average. And there's going to be 2 of those. And the Ticonderoga is one of them. The Lady Gulf. Okay, the other one that's average is the Spruance destroyer. So it has the best detection levels of any destroyer for both land and submarine. It has vertical launch and ASROC torpedoes. It has actually all the ship-to-ship missiles that the Ticonderoga had. And it also can carry TLAM, and it has a helicopter. It's like it says, it's pretty cool. So I did that, and like I said, I got a helicopter with it. And I got a helicopter with both of these, in fact. And then the next Spruance does not have VLS. So it's a little worse. It's not any cheaper, though. That's one thing about this. This one does not have VLS on anything, but it still costs the same amount. And you might be saying, well, why would you buy this one instead of the other one? I just wanted 2 of them. But to be quite honest, this one is inferior in almost every way. I think it eventually has better numbers down here, But yeah, it's in terms of like the attack abilities and all that stuff. It's got less. That or DVG made a print error, and these are supposed to say VLS just like the other one says, but this one is inferior. Anyways, I still got it, and it's my green. I put it down a promotion level. It's because my two average are these two ships. This one's green, and then the frigate is a noob, or I'm sorry, it's a green as well, and it's the USS DeWert, and I put it down to green level. He comes with his own helicopter. His helicopter is the one that we haven't purchased yet, so it's off to the side. But we got the helicopters for the other three. I basically picked 4 ships with 4 helicopters. I may have gone overboard on the helicopters, folks. I don't know. Well, we're going to find out. Okay, as far as commanders go, there's, I think, 5 choices of commanders, maybe 4. Let's go over the ones I didn't pick, and then I'll show you the ones I did. So Ewin is a defense-focused commander that has missile defense and torpedo defense bonuses that he can give to the task force. And he can also do what's called a coordinated maneuver, which makes the detection levels of all enemies. So basically, it's easier to detect the enemy. There is nothing wrong with this commander. He's excellent, you know, and of course this is warrior level. Like when you go down to like green level, he doesn't have those abilities yet. So as he promotes, he gets better and better, and those abilities, you know, he starts the game with only 2 actions he can do, but by the time he's at warrior level, he can do 4 basic actions and 3 special actions. Okay, so and they're all this way, by the way. This guy's not unique in that kind of way. They all have, you know, they're all noobs down here, and then they grow really powerful as they level up. So I chose not to go with the defense focus because I chose to pay the premium on the Ticonderoga class, so I'm adding the missile defense to all the ships in the area. So I already have this one covered. I'm not adding torpedo defense, but I at least got the missile one covered. And so I'm like, yeah, I had to choose something and then get rid of something. So I chose not to go with him. Now this next one is just straight up a leader type. So, and again, what you see up here are basic actions that all the generals get. Now, as I said before, when they're lower rank, they don't have all the actions, but by the time they get to warrior, all 4 generals are going to have, or all the generals in the game have these same basic actions. So that's why you're not seeing me focus too much on those. This guy I really actually considered strongly. He has an inspirational speech that will reduce 1 stress from a shaken ship. Now, that's only useful if a ship goes into shaken, which I think is going to happen. So he can reduce the stress by 1, and you can see it costs 2 actions to do, though. So it's a really costly thing. And then he could give 3 experience points during the encounter that he could just distribute to the ships, and that's an action as well. But that's a very powerful one, and so you could level up your ships pretty fast with that. I thought that since we're doing a link campaign, that my ships are going to get plenty of chances to get experience points. So that's why I chose not to grab them. But I think he would be fantastic for a smaller campaign. And then Munson is your attack guy. Attack, attack, attack. He gives gun attack, air attack, and ship missile attack. Boom, boom, boom. So what's wrong with that? There is nothing wrong with that. We aren't going to have any air in the first stage of the game, so I just chose not to pick him. I had to choose one to keep and one to go. The one thing I will say about this one is the number of experience points he needs to promote is humongous. He needs 8 to go from veteran to warrior, 7 to go from skilled to veteran, even 5 to go from green to average, 6 to go from average to skilled, and even 4 to go from newbie. So this guy promotes very slowly. And I'm sure it's because he's so powerful with the attack bonuses. But these ones are the ones I did not choose. But you at least got a nice overview of those. The one I did choose is I chose Brian here, who is a supply-focused commander, and he's my noob. I put him at the dead last. Why? Well, somebody had to be the noob. It was either going to be one of my ships or the commander. And when you go on a mission, you only can bring one of your 2 commanders. So commanders are at best going to only be playing 50% of the time if I swap them, if I use them evenly every mission. So since a commander is not going to go out on every mission, I didn't see value in making him a higher promotion. So I made him a noob, and he does need a lot of experience points to promote, and he probably won't promote much. But if he ever did become a warrior, you get a free ordnance ship, which we haven't talked about, but an ordnance ship carries extra missiles and whatnot. You have to pay for those, though, but you get free SO points every mission. So remember how I told you get 22 over here? You get 4 more. It makes it 26. But that's only when he's fully promoted. And then you could resupply ships between turns. It does add a stress to the ship, but you can use your ordnance ship to supply one of your ships if they run out of ordnance. I really like him. I have no beef against him. I just decided that one of my 2 commanders is going to be the noob because I'm basically going to pick one commander, and that commander is going to be in most of my missions. And so I have to always choose one or the other, and I wanted to pick one commander that's always going to go, and then the other one's going to just only go sparingly whenever the first one needs to rest. So I made him my noob. The one that I made skilled is Kinsley, which is anti-submarine. I bought 4 helicopters. My paranoia about submarines is through the roof. And so he gives helicopters 1 torpedo attack, and he gives everybody a +1 to their sub detection. Now, I just chose 4 ships with 4 helicopters. Why would I not give all my helicopters a bonus? I mean, do you not see the power behind this guy? Like, if you chose ships that don't have helicopters, then this guy's not helpful at all, other than he gives you extra bonus to detecting subs. But because of my strategies where I went heavy on the helicopters, I wanted a commander that's going to be heavy on the helicopter bonus. So hopefully that makes sense to you. Also, so like, let's just compare him to like a green level, and I'm going to cover up the basic. So you can see that compared to the basic, he starts with 2 skills at the green level, and now at the skilled level he has 3. And so that by itself is good. But you can see that at the green level he had no special actions, and now at the skilled level he's giving the +1s, right? At the green level, he only takes 1 action a turn, and it's a fast action. We'll talk about fast and slow in a bit, but he gets 1 fast action, and that's it. And that's only if he's not shaken. But Kinsley, when he's a skilled, he gets a fast and a slow. So that means he's going to get to go twice in the same round or turn. And then even if he's shaken, he still gets to go at least once. So he's going to get more overall actions by being at this level. And that's part of the reason why I made him my top promoted level. I wanted as much of this bonus and this action as possible. Now, what's above this? Well, above this is veteran, which you can see it becomes a +2, which is even better. And then here, this is only if he's shaken, but he actually gets 2 actions if he's shaken instead of 1. And then if he ever becomes a warrior, which is top level, it's +2 and +2, so it's double. And then here you can see he's going to get 2 fast actions. And just to explain this real quick, fast just simply means we get to go before the enemy, and this is we go after the enemy. Okay, so that's the difference between the two. So right now, when he's fully promoted, he'll be able to go twice before the enemy. I think that's amazing. But right now, he's going to go once before and once after, and all 4 of those helicopters are going to get that bonus. I think that was a really wise choice. I'm very happy with that one. So there you have it. I got the Ticonderoga Cruiser, the Spruance, and the DeWert. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. And then 3 of the 4 helicopters that I need to go on this mission. And I got 1 more helicopter I need to purchase. And I'm going to use the points from later to get that. And I'm just realizing that I didn't get... What is that? His name's Pitch. Here we go. We got his little token now. Okay, so I know that's a lot, folks, but this decision making is huge. And some of you guys are crazy Like I've seen people just randomly pick their ships, and I think that requires a lot of the what do they call that humpta. And so I'm always impressed when people do that. But you know what though, the random ships does create because maybe you'll get 4 random ships that have no helicopters at all, and if that's the case, I would not choose the ASW commander. I would choose the commander that maybe gives me my attacks, like the attack commander, or maybe the defense commander. So you know your decisions are going to largely be dictated by the combination of skills that are in your ships. Okay, so we assigned our skill levels. We wrote it on our sheet, like I showed you. That is the end of campaign setup. From here on out, we play the game, and I'm going to do that in the next video. So I was able to do this in exactly 1 hour. That's fantastic. So we will do exactly that. If you're setting up your game to be similar to mine, I am going to use the variant sensor performance. You don't have to use these, but we will be doing those. So just basically you shuffle these, and you also put this deck next to your board somewhere. All right, and then as far as everything else, you know, all the other components, just basically I put them together, the like kind, and we'll talk about them as we need them. But there's a lot of them. I just want to show you there's a whole bunch of components in each of these as well. So there's a lot of components in this game, and I just got them all set aside. The only thing that's really out of the game is since I got rid of all the other nations, I was also able to get rid of all their munitions. So, well, actually, these are all the nation ships, but then look at this. This is all their munitions that came with the base game that are used by foreign nations that aren't United States. So, like the Limbo torpedo and the MM-38 and the GWS-20, these are all used by the Allied ships that are non-American. So I was able to get rid of all these, so I don't have to choose those munitions. And then if you get the Allied expansion, you get all of these munitions as well. So you got the Bofors, and there's a lot of Bofors in here. And then the MK-24. These are all used by the Allied expansion. So again, because I went with American ships, the American ships don't use these munitions. So I was able to toss these out of the game as well. So my reasoning, one last time, is just to simplify the game. The American munitions are all summarized right here. And yeah, it's still a lot, but this is what the Americans use. And you can see it's not all full. I have 2 here, 1 there, 2, 1, 1, 2, and 1. So I have a lot of empty spots, right? So it's not as intimidating as it looks. But these are what the Americans use, and this is a lot simpler in terms of choosing which munitions to take on a mission. And that's what I wanted. I wanted a simpler game, so because this is my learner game too. All right. I do have a lot of other leader games. I can't say I have all of them anymore because I don't have 0 leader. I think that's the only one I don't have. And I'm sorry, Chuck. You're an awesome guy. I never bought it. I have no interest in playing Japanese planes. That's the only reason I didn't get that one. I am on board for Stuka, and I did not back the F-15 Eagle either. Or no, I did back I did back F-15 Eagle. I didn't back the Su-27. I have no interest in playing the Russian side. Also, as a small criticism, I tend to think that Zero Leader is not that much different than Corsair Leader, and just like Su-27 is not going to be that much different than F-15. So there's a part of me that's like, I'm not real thrilled about owning 2 games that do the same thing. Like, I have Panzer Leader and Sherman Leader, and they are identical games. It's just you're playing Germans on one side and Americans on the other. I would sell one of them, to be honest. But I have them both for now because nobody wants to buy them. Yeah. So I love leader games. I just don't necessarily want duplications of them. Now, with that being said, I have a lot of dice. And I made sure I got different colors so we can use one to represent the enemy and one to represent us so we can roll a little bit quicker. I just want you to understand, though, if you buy this game, it only comes with this die and none of these other ones. Now, this I got as part of a Hornet Leader expansion, or actually you can see a B-17 expansion, right? So that's got the B-17 symbol. And then this one is just a regular die, both of these. And then there's the Hornet Leader one. And this one should also be like a Phantom Leader or Hornet Leader. There you go. So, I don't remember which one is for which leader game, but I got these different dice. And this, by the way, represents the 10. But yeah, anyways, thanks for watching. As always, stay awesome. And I will be eating dinner, charging up my battery here, and then we will start playing. I will get that playthrough, the first mission and whatnot. We are going to be underway tonight. I am not going to bed without playing a mission, so I'm pretty sure of that. So, thank you.